Okay, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. I remind you to please turn off your cell phones to avoid any interruptions during the program. Just a reminder, if you don't want your photo or name on any media or publication, please let the Surrey Board of Trade staff know. The Surrey Board of Trade is a public stakeholder, and at times media will be present, as they are today, and photos that are taken may be utilized for internal and external publications. Now, thank you all for attending tonight's 2024 Provincial Surrey Candidates Dialogue in preparation for the October 19th vote. My name is Jazroop Gosel. I'm the interim spokesperson and policy and research manager at the Surrey Board of Trade and your moderator for tonight. And I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, specifically the Kwantlen, Katzie, Coquitlam, Kaikut, Semiahmoo, and Tsawwassen First Nations. As well, I acknowledge the Inuit and Métis Nations peoples who live and work on these territories. They all have a profound connection to the land and water surrounding Surrey. Now, everyone, please help me thank our sponsors for this event. And without sponsorship, events like these cannot happen, cannot take place. Our presenting sponsor is the National Police Federation. Thank you very much. Our progress partners are the Chamber of Commerce Group Insurance Plan by S&F Group Benefits, the law firm of Faskin, Focus College, Lighthouse Labs, and Western Community Colleges. Thank you for your sponsorship. The Surrey Board of Trade, we are a nonpartisan business organization. Our role is to instigate change at the different levels of government, and the Surrey Board of Trade, to this end, hosts these dialogues to ensure that our political candidates understand what the Surrey business community and our residents need, and also for our business community to know their candidates, to get to know them, to understand how they are going to represent them when they are elected, if they are elected as MLA. We've been in Surrey, representing Surrey's business community for over 100 years and are part of a 500-year global industry. There is a Board of Trade or a Chamber of Commerce in every city or town in the world. And the Surrey Board of Trade believes that voting is a privilege. Voting connects citizens with their political process. The simple act of marking a ballot tells our leaders what we think about decisions that affect our lives. By respectfully agreeing or disagreeing with our leaders, we show that the political system can accept differing points of view and we can resolve those. I encourage you all to vote on October 19th with advance voting occurring next week. Those that are seeking office need to also be aware of their role as future public servants, accountable to you as residents and taxpayers, and listen even when they may not agree with your perspective. We are committed to increasing the number of votes in Surrey because Surrey does matter. And you are all here today because you want to be more informed and learn about these candidates and how they can affect your business and your life. The information you gain tonight will help you in making your decision. I now would like to invite Trevor Dinwiddie from the National Police Federation to the stage to give some opening remarks. Trevor.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank Jazroop and the Surrey Board of Trade for hosting all candidates debate. And of course, I want to thank all the candidates that have come tonight. Thank you very much. My name's Trevor Dinwiddie. I was a police officer here in Surrey for 2 decades. And tonight I'm here on the behalf of the National Police Federation, which I am one of the directors, and we're the co-sponsor tonight. The National Police Federation is sole certified bargaining agent and we represent 20,000 RCMP, near 20,000 RCMP members across the country, including near 7,000 here in the province of British Columbia, many of whom continue to proudly serve here in the city of Surrey. Public safety is the backbone of a thriving communities. And as we approach the provincial election, it's essential to consider how investment in policing and safety are being managed across British Columbia. The RCMP plays a critical role in maintaining public safety throughout the province, providing seamless and coordinated policing in cities, towns, and rural areas alike. Across BC, the RCMP is the frontline force that tackles complexities of modern policing and social issues. Today, policing faces significant challenges: gang violence, mental health and addictions, and the flawed bail system, just to name a few. The National Police Federation has been calling on all parties to commit to a comprehensive public safety plan that addresses the root causes of crime while investing in the support systems and strengthening our communities. This is not just about whether the RCMP or your municipal policing service, it's about public safety issues that affect all of us. The MPF believes in the importance of having these discussions and is proud to be a sponsor of tonight's conversations. Together, we can build a safer, stronger British Columbia. Thank you very much.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much, Trevor. Trevor, I'm sorry. I think you may have walked away with part of my speech. And I definitely did that. Okay, so that's my mistake. Okay, thank you very much, Trevor. So I've already gone over the instructions with our candidates, but I will go through them once more, just to let you all know that it is being live streamed on our Facebook, and we are going to be recording this event as well and putting it on our YouTube channel. So, candidates, the rules. Candidates, please do limit your responses to highlight your thoughts and policies as it relates to the questions versus going after other candidates. During the debate, you will have the opportunity to speak for 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer the question. We will call up each riding and the candidates representing the riding to the microphone. If there isn't a candidate there to represent that riding, another candidate can take that spot to ensure that we receive the perspective of the parties to the questions asked. And I've asked you all to work it out amongst yourselves to determine who's going to go where. So for the first time you're called up, you will be able to provide 1 minute and 30 seconds of introductory remarks. While you are up at the microphone, after all the introductions have been made, you will be asked the questions, and then I will let you know which candidates will start to answer the questions. And again, you'll have 1 minute and 30 seconds, 90 seconds to answer the question. In your introductory remarks, if you could please note your name, the party you belong to, the riding you're running in, as well as what you believe it means to be an MLA. We'll cycle through this order until the end of the questions. And again, as I mentioned, the party to answer the question first will change for each question asked. So each riding will have a different party answering the first time and the last time. The timekeeper will hold up a yellow card indicating 15 seconds remaining. You will also be able to see the time you have remaining on the digital clock on the timekeeper's desk or right behind him. When the time is up, the timekeeper will hold up a red folder and you will have your microphone muted by our AV tech in the back. And attendees, again, please do not disturb the timekeeper during the program. It's not an easy job to run for and be in political office. It takes great courage. Please give all the candidates a round of applause for being here tonight and showing that great courage. The Surrey Board of Trade thanks you all. Okay, so we will begin by having the candidates from City Centre riding to the microphones first. Again, you'll have 1 minute 30 seconds for introductions, then you will answer the question. So we're going to need a Green rep and a Conservative rep from City Centre.
Oh, this will be fun.
There we go. Thank you very much.
Oh, what did I just do? I'm Amna. Nice to meet you.
Okay, sounds good. So we will begin with Amna. Since you're the candidate representing City Centre, please begin with your introductions.
Great. Thank you, Jazroop. My name is Amna Shah. I'm the BC NDP candidate for Surrey City Centre. and I'm very excited to be here today, and glad that you all made it here as well. So Surrey has been home. Surrey has been home for me for the last 20 years, and I'm really grateful for all of the opportunities that I've had in the city to grow, to learn, and to work over here. Now, when I moved to this country, I felt like I was at home because of our diversity in the city and the acceptance that I got from everybody else. But there were challenges as well, you know. I remember having to share textbooks with my fellow students in class because public education was not well funded. I remember not being able to afford to take the Portman Bridge. And I remember the cost of MSP on myself and my family, the cost burden every month. So I knew that Surrey was definitely underfunded. And so that's where my call to action began. I decided that I wanted to get involved and that I wanted to affect my community in a positive way, the way it had for me. And that meant getting involved into politics. I worked with government MLAs and ministers to shape housing policy, much that is in effect today. But I know that there's a lot at risk in this election, and John Rusted and the BC Conservatives are not the answer. So this October, please go out there and vote, first of all, and vote BC NDP. Thank you.
Thank you, Amna. Now the question. So this is going to be about the economy and small, medium-sized enterprises. Small and medium-sized businesses are the backbone of BC's economy, as well as Canada's economy, actually. What specific policies will you implement to support local businesses in Surrey and across the province? Now we will begin with Amna, then we will go to Pat, and finally Linda. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. So you're absolutely right. Small and medium-sized businesses are the backbone of our economies. It's entirely incumbent upon government to ensure that they're supporting our small businesses. It's particularly relevant for Surrey City Centre. And I know that going through the pandemic and through the challenging times that we've gone through, government, our BC NDP government has been there for small businesses. I mean, we doubled the threshold for exemption for the employer health tax for small to medium-sized businesses. We supported businesses who were dealing with vandalism on their storefronts by offering them grants to get their windows repaired. We provided BC Hydro rebates to small businesses to help with the cost of doing everyday business. So these types of supports for small business, for mom and pop shops, for medium-sized business has helped businesses in Surrey City Centre. And I know that for a fact because I know lots of businesses out in Surrey City Centre who have been operating for a number of years. But we have a lot more to do. We need to ensure that small businesses have the tools to be able to succeed and to flourish over the next few years. And that means more investments into small business initiatives that can help drive business into Surrey, drive business into Surrey City Centre, and a community which supports our small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amna. Pat, over to you.
Well, you're absolutely right. The Conservatives are not the answer. The BC Green Party is. Yes, good evening, everybody, and thank you to the Surrey Board of Trade for the invitation to speak with you tonight. My name is Pat McCutcheon, and I'm running for the BC Green Party in Surrey Cloverdale.
Pat, sorry to cut you off there, but no introductions, just the response to the question.
Just a response
to the question, and then once we're at your riding, because you're not representing this riding, that's when we'll provide the instructions.
All right, sorry about that. Can you reset the clock?
Yes, please. Thank you, Kapil. Just give us 1 second. There we go.
All right, okay, yeah, all right, okay. I'll dive into the small and medium-sized business question here. Yeah, this is, in fact, yeah, the backbone of our economy. There's no question about it. It's responsible for so much employment, and the BC Greens definitely recognize that, and we definitely want to incentivize that. And one of the ways that we plan to do it is it has to do with the tax structure. Right now, the way that I understand it is that there are two tax brackets when it comes to profits for small business owners. up to, I believe it is $500,000 in profit, you're taxed at 2%. After that, it leaps to 12%. And we've had a lot of conversations with medium and small business, and they find that a real barrier to grow their business. And so what we want to introduce a more tiered tax system. It'll be broken into a larger number of brackets, which will scale upwards. And the other thing that we want to introduce, I mean, we're aware of the rent that is out there in, oh shit, I'm running out of time. Anyways, we want to assist you with rent. We want to assist you with.
Sorry, Pat, that's time. Linda, over to you.
Thank you. I'm Linda Hepner, and I want to tell you that small business represents 80% of all the businesses in British Columbia. And what that means in city center is that being close to the universities, both SFU, Kwantlen University, and Simon Fraser University, and soon to be UBC, we have the opportunity to have an access to the most sophisticated talent pool of employees, and we can build the city center into the largest metropolitan center in British Columbia. I can't do that. It's so like, yeah, there. Sorry, that was driving me crazy. But what we could do for small business, I'll tell you what we could do. Get out of the way. Small business has so many regulatory hiccups and impositions on things that they take up their time, that is the fundamental thing we can do that will make the biggest change. Get government out of your way. I don't even need the last 15 seconds because that's actually a labor pool that was right at your doorstep, and get out of the way is fundamentally the smartest thing that we can do for business.
Thank you very much. Now, we will have the candidates from the Cloverdale riding. Please step up to the microphone. Okay, so Pat, I cut you off during your introductions. Now is where you can provide your introductions. So we'll go with Pat, Mike, and then finally Eleanor.
Do you want me to go first?
Yes, please.
Okay, well, good evening again. And thank you to the Surrey Board of Trade for the invitation to speak at this event. My name is Pat McCutcheon, and I'm running for the BC Green Party in Surrey Cloverdale. I am a recently retired professional engineer with almost 40 years' experience in the heavy equipment design field. I stepped into politics because of the continued erosion of basic social programs such as healthcare and public education. This is particularly evident in Surrey, where over 600,000 citizens continue to be served by only one hospital, and our public schools are bulging with over 350 portable classrooms. In addition, other major issues such as the climate crisis, cost of living, housing affordability, homelessness, and toxic drug crisis are spinning out of control. But most disturbing of all, and I emphasize this, most disturbing of all, is the fact that the traditional political parties are abandoning evidence-based solutions that have been presented by professionals and sector workers. Traditional parties are now arrogantly and swiftly rejecting evidence-based solutions. For example, 6 to 7 people die every day in British Columbia to toxic drugs. Solutions presented by the chief coroner and the public health officer have been swiftly rejected by both the NDP and the BC Conservatives. The world's top climate scientists have also laid out steps to tackle climate change. And again,
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pat. Mike, over to you for introductory remarks.
pardon me?
We're going to do introductory remarks, and then after everyone's gone, I'll ask the question, and then we'll go back to that.
Oh, good, good.
Thank you, Jesrup, and thank you to the Board of Trade for this evening's event. My name is Mike Starchuk. I am the candidate for Surrey Cloverdale. I have been the MLA there for the last 4 years. I've been in Surrey for over 55 years. I'm not going to exactly say how many years, but over 55. And I came from the fire service where I spent 32 years. And then I had 4 years on city council before I entered the world of provincial politics that are there. It's during my time within the fire service that I got to see the ground on the boots on the ground, what was going on inside of the city, and running as a MLA in 2020 and being successful. I'm very happy for what it is that we're bringing specifically to Cloverdale. And as Pat said, we're talking about a hospital that's coming. We're talking about SkyTrain that's coming. But what's near and dear to my heart is a regional cancer center that's coming to Cloverdale. The diagnostic equipment that's coming there will not be found anywhere else in North America with the exception of New York. And for me, coming from the fire service, where 60% of all firefighters will, in all likelihood, be diagnosed with cancer at one time, it's really critically important for those people and other people that are living in the area that if they are diagnosed, unfortunately, with cancer, that they're no longer going to need to go to Abbotsford or they're no longer need to go to Vancouver. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. Eleanor, over to you.
All right, thank you. I'm Eleanor Sturgo, and I am the BC Conservative candidate for Surrey Cloverdale as the MLA for Surrey South, elected in a by-election in 2022. So, upon becoming Premier in 2022, David Eby gave a speech. And in that speech, he said that he was going to deliver results that people could see, what they could feel, that would show the direction that the NDP was taking this province. And what we've seen under David Eby and the NDP is a collapsing healthcare system, the largest inflationary deficit in the history of our province, and a doubling of our provincial debt. What people are feeling is that they no longer can afford to live in our province, they feel unsafe walking in their communities, and they feel powerless to help their loved ones who are suffering from severe addiction to drugs. They feel it's time for change. As a Conservative candidate for Surrey Cloverdale, I'm ready to deliver that common sense change. And I'm sure you're going to hear my opponents lie. They're going to say that Conservative governments are all about cuts. But we're here to tell you we're going to deliver for Surrey. We're going to increase investments in healthcare, increase investments in public safety and education. We're going to grow our economy by unlocking the potential for our natural resources sector and by supporting the agricultural sector, because money goes where money grows. And right now, under the NDP, businesses, large and small, are struggling with increased taxes. So as the Conservative candidate for Surrey Cloverdale, I'm ready to get our community and our province back on track with common sense change.
Thank you, Eleanor. So if you could please stay standing, we're going to move into the question right now as well. So this question is on healthcare. With Surrey's population growing at astonishing rates of estimated 1,200 residents per month, with this growth comes an exhaustion of infrastructure and resources. One such piece that you've all mentioned is hospitals and healthcare and the capacity that they have. My question to each of you is, what will you and your party do to further support and commit to enhancing Surrey's healthcare capacity, and how will you ensure that any new piece of infrastructure that is built will adequately address the needs of Surrey? Thank you. So we will start again with Pat, then Mike, then Eleanor.
Okay, thank you very much for this question. There's no question that healthcare is stressed beyond belief here in Surrey with just the one hospital. And but our healthcare system is it's also struggling in the administration end of things as well. Here we've got a bureaucracy that was built out in the 1970s. It's not ready for the 21st century, and we need to overhaul that. The money is there, it just is not being allocated efficiently. The other thing that the BC Greens want to do is they want to introduce what's known as the community healthcare centers. And what this is much like a high school being allocated in every riding in the province. And these healthcare centers are team-based. Within the healthcare centers, you will have family doctors, you will have nurse practitioners, physiotherapists, and psychologists, etc. And if you live inside that riding, you would be attached to these healthcare centers so that you would have access to this team. Now, the healthcare centers would also be run by the government. They would take care of the building, they would take care of the administration and the maintenance. The healthcare professionals would be on a salary so that they can focus on delivering patient care. They don't have to worry about the administration, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike.
Thank you for the question. There's no doubt that everybody that's in this room understands the crisis that we have within the healthcare system that's there. Coming to Cloverdale is a brand new hospital, and I've talked about the Regional Cancer Center, but the hospital is being built as we speak. It's been under construction for over a year, and the things that it's going to provide with regards to emergency visits that are there to 120,000 people on an annual basis will take the pressure off of other people that are there. But, you know, people are hearing it, are telling us at the doors that it's too late. And I'd be remiss to say that, you know, in 2014, when we were promised a healthcare facility in Panorama, that was the time when John Rustad and the cabinet that he had at the time decided to sell those lands off to put us in the deficit that we have today. And taking a look at where we are going forward and where we are with building our brand new hospital that's there in Cloverdale, it's going to be able to provide that opportunity for those people there, along with here in the center of the city at SFU, with the new medical school that's going to provide us with some of the doctors that will come to Cloverdale. So what we're seeing right now is they want to do a review. John Rustad wants to do a review on the spending of the hospital that's going to be there in Cloverdale, and we can't afford that. We can't wait another week. We can't wait another year.
Eleanor, please.
Yeah, thank you. You know, after 7 years of the NDP, healthcare has never been worse in British Columbia. And under David Eby, there have never been more hospital emergency room closures than there have been in his last 2 years as Premier and the history of this province. And so, you know, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Cloverdale Hospital because I am happy to see a new hospital in Cloverdale, but I'm unhappy to see where this hospital falls well short of the services that our community needs. So just so you know, if you're critically ill rather, and you present at the new Cloverdale Hospital, you're going to be transferred. Because we don't have any life-saving interventions there. No stroke intervention, no heart attack intervention, no trauma service, no pediatric ward, no cardiac ward, no maternity ward, no stroke ward, no pediatric intensive care, no neurosurgery. So if you are critically ill, you will be transferred from this hospital, a hospital that was already $1 billion, that's with the B, $1 billion over budget before it even broke ground. It's already years behind schedule. And, you know, look, our government will take a look at this project. We will take a look at the project to see if there's ways of improving it. We know the community has waited a long time, and we don't want to add to the NDP's spiraling costs and delays, but we will look at the alignment with the community and see if we can make some improvements to better align with the needs of our growing city.
Thank you very much. Now, if I could ask the candidates from Surrey Guildford to please come to the microphones. And we'll need a Conservative representative as well. All right, so we'll begin with the introductions. So we'll start this time with Gary and then to Manjeet, please.
Thank you very much for having me here tonight. I am Gary Begg, and I'm running as the incumbent in Surrey Guildford. Most of you will know that much of my adult life was spent as an RCMP officer, a career I loved and spent 38 years doing, retiring here as a commissioned officer in Surrey. I've seen here in Surrey things that people don't see, and I know that we're facing big challenges here and across the country. We are living in uncertain times, which is why I'm so proud to be a member of the BC NDP team. David Eby has never stopped taking action for people, from building hospitals and medical schools, more school spaces and rapid transit and infrastructure, and one of the strongest economies in the country. David Eby is working hard for us. Today I'm worried about the risk in this election. That risk is John Rustad, who talks about gutting health care, letting land speculators loose. And one of the best predictors of human behavior we know is past behavior. If he's done it before, he'll do it again. John Restad would go back to his past performance. He will continue to deny the reality of climate science. In the future, there is but one answer. That is the BC NDP. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. And Manjeet, over to you.
Hi there. Thank you for the opportunity today. My name is Manjeet Sahora. I'm a candidate with the BC Green in the Guildford riding, so on this riding. Thank you very much. In the past, I've worked with youth who are in detention centers. I've tutored students who are having a hard time studying. The same thing as your MLA. I'm going to work with people in our riding to make it a better place to live and prosper. In the legislature, I'm going to work to pass laws that will make BC a better place to be. But more importantly, for the riding of Guildford and all of BC, I'm going to work towards making BC a better place to work, live, play, and study. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. So now we'll go to the question. And so we'll begin with Gary answering, and then Trevor, and then Manjeet. So the question is, how will you work with all levels of government to ensure that Surrey receives the infrastructure investment that we need? And the follow-up is, what are some of the infrastructure pieces you believe Surrey needs right now?
Thank you for the question, Jazroop. It's an important one. Surrey has become a technological marvel throughout North America and throughout the world. If we look at some of the examples here in the Innovation Centre, in Surrey City Centre, we've made remarkable progress, and we will continue to do that. Technological advancement is the future, and the future is here in Surrey. We've heard that before. We can attract industry, and when we attract industry, we attract people. And when we attract people, then we attract capital. Capital is what makes this all survive and all go around. So we here in Surrey are in the driver's seat. It is an international destination for technological firms. They are coming here, and we are making them welcome. And the important thing about all of this is the future. We can talk about the past, we can talk about what was, but more importantly, we can talk about what is. What is for Surrey is our geographical location in the center of the Western universe. There are now corporations coming here because they see this as the place to be. If we're smart, and we are in government, that will continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder to the audience, there is no audience participation, so we are here to hear from the candidates. We want to hear them give thoughtful, well put together answers. Whether you agree with them or not is not up for debate at this point in time. Please do speak to them after the event if you have any frustration you want to vent, but please do not interrupt while we are having these dialogues. Thank you very much. Now, moving on to Trevor for the response. If you want me to repeat the question, let me know.
No, I'm good, thank you. Trevor Helford, Surrey White Rock, BC Conservative. I think, well, when we're talking about working with municipalities and other levels of government, let's focus on municipalities. Let's stop by taking our foot off their throat, which is what we're doing right now when we look at, go ahead. So when we look at Bill 44, for example, those of you that don't know what Bill 44 is, Bill 44 for an area like my neighborhood in White Rock, take Oxford Street, that means that the BC NDP have decided that on a single residential lot, that you can put up to 4 to 6 residential units on there. That makes absolutely zero sense for our communities. In fact, we don't have the transportation, we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the water, we don't have the sewage to get that done. That's all part of doing good infrastructure. John Rustad's committed to make sure that we are investing $1 billion with municipalities every year for the next 10 years. That's getting things built. Right now, we're not talking about the Massey Crossing. The fact is that bridge should have been open over 2 years ago. That's investing in infrastructure. That's for Surrey. That's for Richmond. That's for Vancouver. We have failed to make these investments. This government, this NDP government, has continued to fail to make these investments. Picking fights with municipalities, whether it's White Rock or Surrey, that's not the way to get things done.
Thank you very much. Manjeet, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So the BC Greens are putting people first, so we want the people to be involved and educated. So we start at the bottom. We need, more schools in Surrey. The population of Surrey is increasing. We need more schools, and not students in portables. And we give them proper education. We provide training, mental health help if they need it in schools. We work all our way up, and we need more infrastructure. We need more buses to take you people around town. And once we build people up, and they're prosperous, they're educated, the companies will be attracted to move to Surrey. So we're working with people, making sure that they're well educated and they'll find the jobs from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now the Fleetwood candidates, please, to the microphones. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, we're going to be beginning with Avtar Gill, then we'll move to Tim, and then finally Jagrup. So introductions, please.
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Avtar Gill. I'm running from Surrey Fleetwood with the BC Conservative Party. I'm running first time, and I have a family, married to Harvinder Kaur, and 2 children. The reason for my reason to coming into the politics, what I have seen in the Surrey is being treated as second-class city for a long time. We do not have facilities we need. We have an overgrowth population moving into the city, but we do not get fair share what needs to be done. So that's why I'm stepping up. I have worked in the community before. I'm the founding member of Guru Nanak Free Kitchen. We serve the food to downtown every weekend, hot meals to the needy. So that's my reason for coming up.
Thank you. Please. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Tim Binema. I'm a candidate for the BC Green Party in Surrey Fleetwood. I want to thank everyone for coming here to this event, and I'll say that in my work, I'm an executive vice president for a company that supplies pollution control and heat recovery equipment to industrial companies around the world. What it means to be an MLA, I think it means that you need to listen to your people and be concerned about the well-being of those people. And the Green Party platform just came out, and it's centered on well-being. What does that mean for our policies? It means that we have a solid plan for healthcare, which means we're going to have community healthcare centers and reduce the bureaucracy. We have a plan for executing much increased non-market housing so that people have a place to live. We're going to do that by enabling cooperatives and nonprofit housing providers to do that. We also have a robust strategy for providing frequent transit. I believe that a Green Party government is just the right thing for a changing neighborhood of Fleetwood.
Thank you very much, Tim. Jagrup.
Hello, I'm Jagrup Brad. I'm the BC NDP candidate in Surrey Fleetwood. First, Jasroop, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
So thank you to all of you who came here and people who are watching online. And thanks to Surrey Board of Trade for organizing this excellent event. BC is a great place to live, my friends, but it's not always easy. Over the past few years, the people of British Columbia have faced unprecedented challenges due to pandemic, global inflation, high interest rates, and so on. People are worried. People are worried as to how they're going to pay the bill at the end of the month. Parents are worried about the health they need. Parents are also concerned about the future of their kids. David Eby is taking actions to address those challenges head on by reducing car insurance, child care fee, by building 300,000 new homes for middle class, hiring 800 new doctors, 8,000 new nurses to provide care to patients, building a new Surrey hospital, a new medical school in Surrey at SFU, and reducing the family income tax by $1,000. John Rusted, my friends, will put all that at risk because he will give up huge tax breaks to the top 2% and cut services people depend on and force people to pay more as they did before.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now, to the question. So this is about art and culture, as well as tourism, which is an economic cornerstone of Surrey. And we are trying to make Surrey into a destination. So how would you make Surrey a destination through the provincial government and enhance Surrey's tourism, arts, and culture industries? So again, we'll begin with Tim, and then we'll go to, Avtar, Tim, Jagrup.
Thank you for the question. Surrey is a multicultural city, and we respect arts and culture as a part of city. Surrey has a long history. Even the British Columbia has a long history. So we are committed, as a Conservatives are committed to protecting our culture and our culture and our environment, everything. But what have been done in the past, we have seen the last 7 years, we haven't seen any funding, any improvements for the culture, for the city. So it is the David Eby's policies. The BC Conservatives will make sure our art and culture is protected. We belong to multicultural, our values, what we're teaching to the children in the education at the school level. We need to protect our children, their future, and their culture. So we will be committed making all those changes.
Thank you very much. Tim.
Thanks for that question. Yeah, I echo the comments about the diversity in Surrey and the need to celebrate that. We would be supporting the transit system, which will help people get around, and I believe that will vastly improve the people's tourism capability. Also, you have to think about what we have in terms of parks and welcoming people to those parks. I live in Fleetwood, which is close to Tynehead. I think we could use the parks to welcome our guests to the city. Having some kind of central arts and helping to fund the arts through having a arts center so that we could have a theater and things like that is another area that the province could support the cities with those kind of activities. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Jagrup.
Thank you. Surrey is the fast-growing city in the province and probably in the country. And it's a very diverse city. And it's connected to the global community. And of course, we need to promote art, we need to promote tourism, and we need to bring in more investment into the city, and we are fully grown to do that. But let me tell you, if the John Russell team would have done anything during the 16 years, we would not be asking that question today. We just announced a few days ago, David Eby announced that we are going to give more tax credits to the film industry so we can invite more film industry here, more films can be made here. We also need to diversify our trade. Surrey should be part of this. Surrey should be the center of it into the global community because there's a lot of room to diversify our trade. We also need to bring in more small business and medium-sized businesses to diversify our trade into the global community as well. So we can do a lot in the city of Surrey, or we will continue to support the city of Surrey, work with the Surrey Board of Trade, work with the city of Surrey to make sure the city of Surrey get the tourism they deserve, and tourism we can actually afford to do. We are also building the museum, in which the John Russell government refused to completely oppose that proposal. So we will continue to work to promote BC tourism so that Surrey gets its fair share moving forward. But John Russell is a big.
Thank you very much, Jagrup. Okay. Now let's get the candidates from the Newton riding to the microphone, please. All All right. Now we will, so we ended off with J Group, so we're going to start with you, Jesse. Go ahead.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Can I take this out? My name is Jessie Sunner, and I am your BC NDP candidate for Surrey Newton. By trade, I am a labor and human rights lawyer for the Hospital Employees Union, where I have the honor of fighting for workers every single day and fighting for a stronger healthcare system. I grew up right here in Surrey. I went to school here, and I have the honor of continuing to live and volunteering here today. Growing up, I always knew how wonderful Surrey was, but everyone else around me didn't always feel the same. I remember going away for university, and when I would tell people that I was from Surrey, they would look down on it, make a face, or make fun of it. And it really made me mad, because that wasn't the Surrey that I knew. The Surrey that I knew was full of amazing parks and fields where I grew up playing field hockey and rugby and making some of the closest friendships that I have in my entire life. The Surrey that I knew was full of amazing teachers who truly made me believe that I could be anything that I put my mind to. And the Surrey that I knew was full of wonderful diversity and vibrancy from people from all walks of life that came here to Surrey to make a better life for themselves and for their families. Knowing all this, there was one thing that I could agree with people, and that was that Surrey was being ignored and was not being invested in by the government of the time, which was the John Rustad and his government. And I knew that we needed to stand with the BC NDP to ensure that there was greater investments in Surrey, and that we will continue to do that so Surrey is never...
Thank you. Jaypreet, over to you.
Hello everyone. Sat Sri Akal, Namaskar, Adab, and Ni Hao. My name is Japreet Lehal. I'm the Team Liberal candidate for Surrey Newton. I was also born and raised here in Surrey. I'm a lawyer by profession. I help British Columbians every day resolve their legal issues. In addition to that, I'm a former newspaper columnist. I graduated from Simon Fraser University as the top political science graduate. I'm also the recipient of the Governor General of Canada's Academic Medal, President and Dean's Honor Roll, and the Surrey Board of Trade's Top 25 Under 25. So my vision for BC is one of progress, of a bright future for young British Columbians and the residents of Surrey Newton. Unfortunately, over the past few years, we've seen rising crime, skyrocketing housing prices, and unaffordability. And when I was younger, we didn't see this, but the past few years of governance under the BC NDP has resulted in that. So as your next MLA in Surrey Newton, I would ensure that housing is affordable, we have more doctors, there's a medical loan forgiveness program, post-secondary education is free. The BC NDP has brought in incremental changes, and the BC Conservatives have outdated and regressive racist policies.
Okay, so moving on to the question. So for the question, we're going to begin with the Conservative candidate, then Jesse, then Jaypreet. So the question is, in an era of increasing public spending and economic uncertainty, how does your party plan to balance the budget while ensuring that essential services are maintained? And what would be your fiscal priorities if you were elected? Brent.
Thank you. I think to start off with that, there has to be smarter spending. There has to be spending that's better put. There's been a lot of money that's been put into to wasted projects. A lot of projects have been allowed to overrun, and it's poor planning that's causing a lot of this. We also have, I think that the revenues that are coming from businesses are dropping because of I believe it's the carbon tax that's causing so much problems, because it's attacking every single level of production and of sales. And so we are seeing that money being taken right out of the economy. There was a time they did a test at Future Shop when it was still around, and the 7% tax that was in Alberta compared to the 7% tax that wasn't in Alberta, but the one that was paid here, that 7% went right back into the economy. So we're taking money out of the economy, and I think businesses are struggling because of that. So really there's the people haven't got the money to spend to keep the businesses going. So I think that would be a way first, is to try and cut that tax, cut our taxes, find better ways to spend the money, and find efficiencies that have to be there, because the way things are going now can't go on.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, over to you, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your question. We can see that across the province and across our city that people are struggling, and we see that. And we know that this is an issue that we're seeing with global inflation, not just in BC, not just in Surrey, but across the country and across the world. And in a time when people are struggling and they're suffering, this is not the time to cut services. This is a time that we need to invest in infrastructure, we need to invest in the resources so people can make do every single day. And that means investing in our healthcare system, building the hospitals where land was sold off by previous governments like John Rustad's government. And it would have been a lot cheaper to make it then, I agree, but we didn't make it then. You sold the land off, so now we have to buy it again and rebuild the hospitals now where we are now. We need to invest in schools. We need to build schools and not close schools like you did under the John Rustad's government, and where not a single dollar went into education in Surrey in the last 4 years that they were in government. We need to ensure that we're addressing the affordability crisis that we're seeing here by taking tolls off bridges, not putting tolls on bridges, by taking away MSP premiums. We were the only province that was paying the special health tax. We cannot be penalizing people in a time like this. We need to invest in our people so that we can see those resources and go back and reinvest that into the economy. But people come first, especially when they're struggling. It's not the time for cuts, it's the time to invest in our people.
Thank you very much. Jaypreet.
What I see in my riding in terms of the economy is that average people are suffering as well as small businesses. The BC NDP has introduced 32 new taxes, and they have provided approximately $1 billion since 2018 to the biggest consulting firms, and that's the top 1% that they've supported. They've not supported the average constituent of Surrey Newton or British Columbia, so I would put an end to that, stop feeding the big consulting firms, and help small businesses with grants and loans, and I would eliminate a lot of these unnecessary taxes that are being imposed on the middle class. In addition to that, I would ensure that more hospitals are built, more schools are built, we got more doctors here, more teachers, early childhood education is supported. And unfortunately, the BC Conservatives, they're going to talk about, their rich puppet masters, the top 1%. That's who they're going to support. We are going to bring in green technologies, green industries for the 21st century and support modern industries, not just focus on fossil fuel. I would push for a retraining fund so that we can train employees in the fossil fuel industries in the 21st century, and that we train our next generation in green technologies, trades, and technology, and invest back in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the candidates from Panorama, please come forward to the mic. And if we could have a Conservative representative come for the question. So, Ginny, over to you for the introductions.
Thank you very much. And I want to acknowledge that we are on Salish land, and I'm always grateful that I get to work here and live here and absolutely enjoy the privilege that I have. My name is Ginny Sims. I am the candidate in Surrey Panorama running for re-election. After 16 long years of neglect of Surrey by the previous government, I decided I was going to run to be an MLA. And over the last number of years, we have brought in unprecedented investments into Surrey. However, the infrastructure still needs more, because during this time, we've also had unprecedented growth, as you mentioned earlier, of over 110,000 people a year extra. Now, when I look back, during those 16 years, we didn't get a hospital built, we didn't get a medical school built, instead the land was sold. We are building a hospital, we are building a medical school, and you know something? Whereas the previous government, and Mr. Rustad was part of that government, only built 0 spaces during their last 4 years. We have built over 12,500 student spaces right now, 1,950 of them being in Surrey Panorama. I am so proud of the extra doctors that have been recruited both internationally and locally.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So we are going to be moving to the questions. For this riding, there's no Green Party candidate listed, so it's just going to be the NDP as well as Conservative. Thank you very much. So this question is about public safety and comes from our sponsor, the National Police Federation. The BCRCMP, as a provincial police service, has not seen an increase in budgeted human resources since 2012. They remain at 2,612 police officers. However, BC's population has grown consistently since 2012. What is your long-term vision for provincial support and investment in the provincial BCRCMP, and how will you ensure that rural and urban communities alike benefit from consistent and well-resourced policing services? So we'll begin with you, Ginny.
Thank you very much. And first of all, I want to acknowledge and thank the RCMP for the amazing service that they provide to the city of Surrey, as well as across this province. And I want to say that the shortage of policing has been acknowledged by our government, and as a result of that, we did put aside an additional $240 million for additional policing for BC. And that doesn't just mean Surrey, that means across the province. Look, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. Public safety is absolutely important for every person living in Surrey. And I can tell you that we are committed and focused on improving public safety. Now, we do know that our municipal governments also have a critical role to play in public safety and the number of policemen that they hire, especially in the bigger cities. And we work in partnership with the municipalities to make sure that we build safe communities right across this province. And I want to say, it doesn't matter whether it's a Surrey police uniform or a VPD uniform or an RCMP uniform. Every one of those officers puts their life on the line to serve British Columbians, and I salute them.
Thank you very much. And Eleanor, please.
Thank you. So just to correct the record, the 250 police officers for British Columbia that funding was announced by the NDP actually are 250 unfilled spaces that were actually just unfunded. So they're not net new policing spaces. They're simply now funding spaces they failed to fill for the 7 years. They talk about this government, they talk about the province as if they haven't been in charge of it for 7 years. They've been in charge of this province for 7 years. We have a catch and release justice system. We're going to invest in police. We will add more net new police officers. We're also going to invest in security at the ports. You know, 50% of the containers that come into Canada come through BC. Only 1%, actually, sadly, less than 1% of those containers are actually physically checked. John Rustad's government is committed to improving security. We will add funding to things like the Joint Waterfront Task Force that looks after that type of security. But we know that it's also David Eby's catch and release justice system as a result of underfunding the justice system. So we will, in fact, be making sure that we have enough sheriffs, enough Crown Counsel, enough clerks to the court to keep our justice system running smoothly. You know what? It takes more than just talk, more than just filling the vacancies that you failed to fill for 7 years. When you're talking about public safety, a John Rustad government, Conservatives of BC are committed to public safety and putting your safety first.
Thank you. Now we will move on to the Surrey South candidates, please, to the microphones. All right. So for this introduction, we'll begin with Brent and then Haroon, and we'll go in that order for the question as well.
Okay. My name is Brent Chapman. I'm the candidate for the Conservative Party of BC for Surrey South. I'm an actor. That's what I started as, but I'm a working actor. So what I did is worked one day and then worked the next day again. There was no time off. There wasn't scripts being handed to me. It was about billing. It was about invoicing. It was about doing all the things that a working person does with a small business. But over time, I started to understand sort of what small business was going through and having a better understanding of it. I'm now older. I don't act quite as much as I did before. I have 4 kids, 7 grandkids. And I started to look at this province and see what was wrong. And we've had a fundamental shift in the last 4 or 5 years where we've changed the relationship between the government and realtors, and the government and farmers, and the government and doctors, and the government and chiropractors, and the government and dentists, and the government and teachers, and the government and drug addicts, and the government and children. I mean, the government has changed. We've changed all these things so fundamentally that if it happened within a week, you'd call it a revolution. That this government has hijacked so many institutions, telling lawyers how to do law, telling farmers how to farm, that it really can't go on. And they should stay in their lane, the lane of healthcare, transportation, education. If they stayed in their lane there and did that job properly, we might be okay. But they're not doing that job properly either. We need to replace this, and we need to do it better than what they're doing now, and we can, with the BC Conservatives and John Rustad. Thank you.
Thank you. Haroon.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Harun Ghaffar, and I'm a BC NDP candidate from Surrey South. As a former journalist and public servant, I have dedicated my career to amplifying voices and advocating for our communities. In these challenging times, we need leaders who prioritize people over politics. I believe in a BC where everyone has access to affordable housing, quality healthcare, and strong education system. Together, we can address the climate change with bold, sustainable solutions that create good jobs and protect our environment for future generations. Since 2017, BC NDP has been in power, leading our province through some of the most difficult times in recent history. 2 consecutive terms have allowed us to lay the foundation for a better BC. Under David Eby's leadership, we have seen re-election on the issues that matter most to British Columbians. But the work is not done yet. The progress we have made is significant, but we need so much more for everyone. We have seen what happens when reckless policies take root. John Rustad is proposing plans that would undo the progress we have fought so hard for. He and his party.
Thank you very much. Now, the question is on taxation and red tape. So many industries, including construction industry, manufacturing, and tech, are facing significant regulatory red tape across the province. What specific actions will you and your government take to reduce unnecessary bureaucracy while ensuring that safety and environmental standards are maintained?
Yeah, I agree. The red tapes are the barriers, and we need to remove those barriers, and BC NDP is working on that, to remove all those barriers. If we look at the red tapes in the construction industry, for example, the Bill 44, the red tapes are there. Sometimes it takes maybe a year or maybe 2 years to approve the permit of the housing. So we are working on them, reducing the red tapes, accelerating the jobs that the construction can be done quickly. And in the construction sector, it's not just one sector. This sector is connected with so many other small businesses. And when we see the development in this sector in a fast-paced manner, when the construction will start in massive way, it will help the economy in a broader scale. It's not just the construction side, it will help the economy on other areas. So the BC NDP is working in reducing the red tapes and getting the jobs done when we need it most at this moment. So the construction, my friend just mentioned the Bill 44 in the White Rock area. So it is not just, it's not for the whole city, it's about the transit hubs, around the transit hubs. As we know, the Surrey Langley SkyTrain is underway. And
that's time. Thank you very much. Brent, over to you.
44, Bill 44. The red tape isn't red, it's orange. And they stand in the way of getting things done. The permits that companies and businesses wait for are more than 1 or 2 years. They can go 3, 4, and 5, and it goes on. The fact of the matter is that the Constitution of Canada says that you have a right to earn a living, that you have a right to travel and a right to earn a living. And when someone holds up your work for unnecessarily for 2, 3, 4, and 5 years, you have a right to say something. I believe that should be challenged by somebody to get people back to work. I mean, we've got mining that's held down for 18 years, which is insane, so nothing gets done. But when it comes just in our local area, it's really hard for these guys to get things done, for builders to get things done. And also, we have a STEP program that has put in really odd regulations in where we're getting to go to a 2x10, which is totally unnecessary, not needed for here. We're sealing houses to the point that it's dangerous, that if you leave your home and you leave your home, if there's a power outage, you actually lock in the moisture in your home that you'll damage the home. You'll actually have a mold problem in the home. So this regulations they brought in, that is some sort of global regulation, is causing problems right here in Vancouver, or the lower mainland of Vancouver Regional District. So we have to think about this and make a change in that. As far as getting a change for this, the permits, get out of the way again and let them do their job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Candidates from Surrey North, please, to the microphone. How do I make this out? Thank you very much. So for the introductions, we'll begin with Rachna, then Sim, and then we'll proceed in that order with the questions as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jasroop, and thank you for hosting us today. My name is Rachna Singh. I am seeking re-election in the new riding of Surrey North. I've had the privilege of representing the people of Surrey Green Timbers for the last 7 years. I moved to Canada in 2001 with my young family, with dreams to build a better future for myself and my children. And I had the opportunity to work as a counselor, as an alcohol and drug counselor, as a counselor working for violence against women. And I saw at the government of that time, the decisions that they were making, the funding cuts they were doing, and how it was impacting the most vulnerable, the most marginalized. And I could hear those stories every day. And when my son started going to kindergarten, I saw the same government fighting with our teachers. Rather than supporting the schools that we needed to build here in Surrey, they were cutting the funding. They were not building the schools. Surrey is growing, we know that, but Surrey has not started growing just today. It was growing for a long, long time. And for BC NDP is investing in Surrey, where they're building more schools. We have invested in 15,000 new student spaces. We are building a hospital, and this is the work that will continue. I will continue for the residents of Surrey North when I'm re-elected.
Thank you. Sim.
Hi, my name is Sim Sandhu, and I'm a candidate for the Green Party in the Surrey North constituency. So there was a class, there used to be a class called middle class, which can be destroyed by the high inflation. And today we see record number of drug overdose. Today we see record number of people lining up outside of the food banks. And Surrey Council have voted that the biggest school district in the whole British Columbia, the state of school infrastructure is in crisis. So at the same time, the Surrey, British Columbia hiring over 300 uncertified teachers. Well, at the same time, they have, from the fiscal year of from 2024 to 2025, they're going to collect $2.6 billion in carbon tax, and only giving back $1 billion in rebate. So there was no problem with the capital. And after we go to, there's a record number of people moved down to British Columbia. So why we failed to bring record number of good teachers to the British Columbia? Today, we need change, because if we keep doing the same thing again and again, keep expecting the different results, that's not gonna happen. So if the Surrey Council, which is the biggest school board in whole British Columbia, is voting that the state of school infrastructure is in crisis, that's a failure.
Thank you very much for your opening remarks. Okay, so we'll move to the question now. It's about SFU Medical School. As you are aware, Simon Fraser University School of Medicine is currently under development. How will your government expedite the process to ensure it is open quickly and can create as many doctors as this region requires, and also ensure that it receives the funding it needs to open and expand to meet the needs of our growing community? And so we'll begin with Rachna, then Sim, then...
No, thank you so much. And we are so proud of the investment that we are making in Surrey. And SFU Medical School is the first medical school being built in British Columbia in the last 50 years. So really proud of that. We know that the health issues, like I hear the stories from whenever I go and meet my constituents or hear from other people, this health issue is on the top of everybody's mind. While we are investing in the healthcare, we also need the services. We need the workers who will be working there. So right here, training those doctors right here in our community with the culturally informed education that is required. We know that Surrey is such a diverse community, and we need that lens when we are providing that services. We are investing in healthcare. We know the Surrey Memorial Hospital. We are building a critical tower here right at Surrey Memorial. So the SFU students would have that opportunity to do their internship, to do work while they are studying, getting the practical experience right across the street at Surrey Memorial. Also, the new hospital that we are building in Cloverdale, that hospital that should have been built years ago. The land for that hospital was sold by John Restad while he was in the government. We are investing in healthcare. We are training the people, healthcare workers and doctors right here in Surrey, and we are working for the future of Surrey.
Thank you. Sim.
So, doesn't matter how many buildings you're going to make, if you don't have a doctor, they're not going to change anything. So the biggest problem is faced by the British Columbia is there's no doctors, and the lineup is getting huge and huge at the same time. But where's the money going? There's $2.6 billion just for the one fiscal year in climate carbon tax rebate, collection. And only $1 billion going back to the rebates. Where's the rest of the money? They should be invested on the British Columbians. School structure is in crisis. We don't have doctors. So the problem is the gatekeepers. We have a lot of gatekeepers sitting. There's no proper education system. We cannot build proper doctors. There's another problem coming right in the front of us, that's AI. And according to the IMF, in next coming time, 40% of the world population will need re-education and study. So why we can focus on building more doctors and change a new education system? Why we not doing it? At the same time, we making money. We have money, right? British Columbia have resources and everything, but the problem is gatekeepers. Gatekeepers have to get out of the way so we can fix the system. We can fix the hospital system. We need to invest more on education of doctors. We need more doctors. Then we can reduce the lineup, not by building bigger buildings or having more beds. The first problem is doctors. We have to bring the doctors back.
Thank you. Trevor.
Thank you. I don't think anybody up here is going to disagree that we need to be having more doctors, and I think it's great about the facility that we're talking about. What's not great is that we got a consistent theme up here with this NDP government, and they consistently overpromise and underdeliver. So on this medical school here, I think it's been delayed not once, but twice, right? And the fact is I don't think we're going to be having graduates until at least 2030. So again, it's one thing to get up there and announce something. It's another to actually properly implement it. And that is consistent with what we see. Now, we can use healthcare as an example. We talk about the fact that every NDP candidate seems to want to talk about the new hospital in Surrey. That can be a good thing. But what's not a good thing is the fact is that at Peace Arch Hospital right now, over the summer, we've had what's called partial diversion. So that means that if you go there with a serious illness, they're going to turn you away, right? Because they can't handle it. We saw that month after month. We saw it in hospitals across this province. The fact of the matter is that this NDP government has continued to fail on healthcare. They're not executing, and even worse than that, the projects that they're promising are consistently delayed and over budget, right? So just because you announce it doesn't mean that it's actually going to happen. So looking forward to seeing more doctors. We absolutely know that we need that, but what we cannot do is continue to overpromise and underdeliver, which is the core theme of this NDP government.
Thank you, Trevor. And Serpentine River candidates, Bultage and Linda. So we're going to begin with the introductions from Linda and then Bultage, and then we'll proceed in that order for the questions as well.
Thank you. And thank you for being here and moderating tonight. My name is Linda Hepner, and I represent the riding. I'm running for the riding of Surrey Serpentine, which is a brand new riding. I have been a resident of Surrey for the last 40 years. My first 21 years here was spent at Surrey City Hall as a Director of Economic Development, which included, at that time, special events and filming, as well as the liaison to the Provincial Ombudsman. Subsequent to that, I spent 9 years as a city councillor, and the last 4 years at the city as its mayor. So I don't think there's anyone that can tell me that I don't know what having relationships with the province looks like. And as an MLA, it is my commitment that I want to work with the city cooperatively. I think there's a lot we can do to make Surrey the biggest and the best city in the province, but that does take cooperation and coordination, and you can't do it with putting your foot on the neck of the city while an edict is being delivered. And I decided to do this, come out of retirement, because I am fundamentally concerned about this direction.
Thank you. Voltage, please.
Good evening, folks. Voltage Dillon, BC NDP candidate for Surrey Serpentine River. I've been a citizen here and resident of British Columbia for over 40 years. Spent about 5 years up in Quesnel when I first started out as a police officer, and then the rest of the time, 35 years here in the city of Surrey. I've raised my 2 daughters here. I'm proud of this city. This city has a lot to offer. It's diversity, all the things that makes it great. That's why people come here. All of it has been really, really good. And we have invested not only our time here, our money here, but also our lives here. And, you know, I look around and people are talking about Surrey being important today. Surrey's been important for a while. And suddenly we've got folks over there saying, well, it's been neglected. Yeah, it's been neglected. And we're talking about that now. But that neglect could have been solved some time ago. So, you know, 13 years ago, when my friend was a mayor, we could have made Surrey a priority. There was no investment here. 4 years leading up to it. John Rustad, same fellow that was in government back then, and city of Surrey was not a priority. No SkyTrain, no hospital, none of these pieces. And when it came time to put in a school for new doctors so we could actually make some improvements, that wasn't followed through as well. So talk about...
And now for the question. So this is going to be a question about transportation. With the growing population that we have here and increased demand for transportation, how does your party and how do you as MLA plan to manage, build, and expand transportation infrastructure, including public transit, cycling, road networks, and improvements for growing regions like Surrey? So we'll start with Linda for the answer, please.
Thank you. Well, as a former mayor, I had the largest federal injection of cash for transportation than the city had ever seen. And it was all about making connections with light rail, which subsequently was changed to SkyTrain. And hopefully that SkyTrain gets built, because it is now way behind schedule and way past where Vancouver is in their project, and that is sad to me and incredibly over budget. In terms of transportation, we need the bridge that the NDP have decided to put in is 4 lanes. It needs to be 6 lanes. Nobody would build a 4-lane bridge and expect that to serve a growing population. On the Surrey side, we've prepared for that already. It only takes the NDP to say, yes, we'll do it on the New Westminster side, but we are ready for it in the city of Surrey, and I believe that the city would agree with me on that. Transportation fundamentally is way behind schedule. That tunnel will be another 10 years before we ever get to see that built. And the bridge should have been done already. We should all be traveling over that bridge.
Thank you. Voltage.
Well, yeah, we talk about things that are over budget. Well, that SkyTrain extension would have been far cheaper if it had been done earlier. It wasn't. That was a promise that wasn't kept. And when that was brought up, it was brought into a referendum for the people of Surrey, because somehow we were special compared to everybody else. And then we were asked to pay for it on our own. Nobody else had to do that, but somehow Surrey had to do that. This is John Rustad's government. And, if this was an important election for them, they wouldn't be playing musical chairs tonight. We would have had all of their candidates here, right? So this is what's at stake, folks. Who is taking this seriously? Who is coming to these debates? Who is putting their policies forward? We're not afraid of having those conversations. And when it comes to infrastructure, yes, the bridge is being built. The SkyTrain is coming to Surrey. We're doing it, and it's being done. It's over budget because they didn't do it. And we're building roads. We've given the most money to Surrey because we know Surrey is important. And it is on our agenda and part of our growth plan here in BC that Surrey gets its due attention and the resources that it needs. So there's been a lot of infrastructure money that's been infused. And that's going to continue because we know that this is where people are coming to make a better life for themselves.
Thank you. Okay, now we will have the Surrey White Rock candidates, and we need a rep from the Green Party and the NDP.
That's okay. I'll hit it in a second.
And the Green Party as well, please. Thank you.
There's no Green candidate.
For Surrey White Rock? I do recall seeing that this morning, but since that's what I saw, I'm gonna.
There's not, but there, you can go ahead.
There isn't? Is that what I'm hearing?
No.
Someone from? No? Okay. I'm hearing from the Green candidates that there's not, so we'll stick with the NDP and the Conservatives to keep it fair. Thank you very much. So we will start with having Trevor speak first, and then we'll go to the question.
Hey, thank you very much, Trevor Helford, MLA, Surrey White Rock, BC Conservative. It's been an honor to serve my community, my hometown for the last 4 years, and I'm seeking the privilege to continue that. But it's not without its challenges, and I want to thank, I see Councillor Ernie Classer from the City of White Rock here, so thanks for joining us today, Ernie. Listen, the fact is that people in my riding and across the ridings in Surrey, by the way, and I'll be honest, my candidate chose not to show up tonight. So if we're going to take shots, let's make sure we're at least accurate about it. The thing is that people are struggling right now, and they're struggling mightily. We've got more people in my community using the food bank than ever before. We've got seniors that are going without hot water and heat. We have seniors that are actually sleeping in their cars right now. Happened in front of my office 2 months ago. That's the choices they're making right now. So if the candidates up here that are running for the NDP want to get up and say we're taking action, we certainly aren't feeling it and we're not seeing it, right? Because people are suffering every single day. And I'll remind you that this is the same group of people that thought it would be okay to actually cut individualized funding for children with autism. So when we're talking about actually standing up for people, let's be a little bit accurate about what we're actually trying to do.
Thank you very much. Now we will go to the question. One of the pieces of red tape that some businesses experience is that there isn't a Canada Free Trade Agreement, that it is quite costly to export your product, not only to other countries around the world, but also across the province. As MLA, if your party is elected, what will you do to ensure that that red tape is reduced and we have a Canada Free Trade Agreement by working with the federal government and other provinces?
Me first?
Yes, please.
Yeah, well, I think it's starting to develop those relationships. The fact is, in British Columbia, we have a lot of things we want to celebrate. And I don't drink, but I know a lot of people here enjoy British Columbia wine, things like that, right? And we want to make sure that a lot of those resources are able to get back and forth because we want to support our economy. Whether it's the Okanagan, even in my riding, we have a great number of craft distilleries, local breweries. And we want to make sure that people are able to celebrate that. So, the fact is that we have an abundance, and especially, when we look at small businesses and the way that they've suffered over the last 7 years, because it's been hard, right? And I think it's not the one or two things that this government levels on you. It's the 1,000th thing that this government levels on small businesses where they can't take anymore. So we need to be looking at every avenue we can to help them. And if that means being able to ship across, then we need to look at that. But we've got to do that with relationships with other levels of government.
Thank you very much. Ginny.
Thank you very much. Darrell Walker is not here tonight because he had a pre-scheduled event.
Sorry, Ginny, if we could just...
I will answer the question.
Thank you.
In his own riding in Surrey, Surrey White Rock. So I want to say that our government has worked very, very hard with the other provinces to take down some of the red tape and to remove some of the barriers. And we're beginning to hear of some of that happening with the wine industry, with the wine being able to go over that way, and some of that wine now being able to come back this way as well. Look, we know when it comes to international trade and trade across the country, the federal government plays a key role. But we also know that as a province, we have to be out there advocating, and we have to do what we can do. And I'm so very proud of the work that has been done by the Minister of State in the NBC NDP government in order to open doors so that we can grow our businesses here, but also grow the inter-provincial trade that is so necessary in a country like ours. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, folks. So that was the first round of questions and the introductions. Well done to all of our participants. Thank you very much for your insightful answers. We're now moving on to the next round of questions, and we'll begin again with City Centre. So we'll have a representative from the Green Party, Conservative Party, and Amna to the stage, please, to the microphones. Okay. Perfect. All right. So the question is on taxation and red tape. High business taxes are often cited as barriers to economic growth, especially for our small and medium-sized enterprises. What specific tax reforms will you introduce to support small business owners while ensuring government can still fund essential public services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure? So, Amna, starting with you, please.
Oh, me again? Okay. We talked about small business earlier being the backbone of BC's economy. Well, businesses are actually paying 25% less under this BC NDP government in the small business income tax rate than they did when John Rustad was in government. And small businesses, as I mentioned before, we have supported through the pandemic through a variety of different measures. Taxation really, in terms of boosting taxation for small businesses should be at a level that businesses can bear. And really, supporting our businesses into the future requires something something that will be guided by input from business roundtables, from small business roundtables. I believe there's one that actually exists in the Ministry of Jobs, Innovation, Recovery. But I actually just want to sidetrack here a little bit because we heard a couple of candidates talking about lies, about us having to hear lies here today, and then I heard nothing but lies about stuff that we've done here in this province. But guess what? Lies about the hospital won't work here. Lies about the SkyTrain won't work here. That's one more hospital than John Rustad built here in Surrey. That's one more SkyTrain than John Rustad.
Thank you very much for your response. And now we will have Linda please respond to the question, and then Tim. Yes.
Me?
Yes, please.
Sorry,
No,
I
no.
didn't hear you first.
No problem.
Okay. The NDP government makes big business turn into small business, and small business disappear. Over the last 7 years, there have been 33 tax or fee increases to this province. And fundamentally, when we remove the carbon tax in its entirety, that makes a difference of, if you were building a home today, a small home, a modest home, 2,000 square foot home, which in my day was not modest, but today is, you will save $27,000 to $33,000 in just the carbon tax that is put on the businesses trying to build that home. So is there a way in the city center for taxation to be removed? The commitment that the Conservatives has made is we will look at every single one of those taxes and see where the actual bloat is and what we can do to help business become stronger. There is no doubt in my mind that there is an enormous amount of regulatory red tape that costs money to businesses, and that
Thank you very much for your answer. Over to you, please.
Okay, thank you very much. So what we've seen over all these years, we've had like two parties. You know, we had the John Rustag and Chris Clark's party. They started the Macy Tunnel and they wanted to make a bridge. Spent like $100 million of our tax dollars, of our dollars. They started off, and then the government changes, and the NDP came in and they canceled it. Now they want to restart it again. First, it was going to be $5 billion, $3 billion of our tax dollars to build the bridge. Now it's going to probably cost $5 billion or $6 billion to make a tunnel. But this is all our money. This is all our tax dollars. So there's a lot of waste goes on. We changed parties, we changed governments, but we really need to go down. We have to be like the Green Party says, we're putting people first. So we want to sit down with the businesses and say what do we need, what do we want, and how should this tax structure work, and build from there. We can't have all this waste and have, make some commitments here, make that commitment here, and then say, oh, new government, new change, waste all that tax dollars. It's our money, it's our hard-earned money that shouldn't be happening. So we need to sit down, put people first, and sit down with the businesses, make a tax structure that works for small business, medium-sized business, and large business. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will now have Cloverdale candidates to the microphone, please. So this time we're going to have Mike speak first, then Eleanor, then finally Pat. So the question is on social equity and inclusion. Social equity, including LGBTQ plus rights, is a key concern for many in BC, and it's important to ensure that everyone is able to participate in our economy, and therefore the systemic barriers that exist must be brought down. What measures will your party implement to ensure that all communities are protected and supported and given the opportunity to participate in our economy? So we'll start with you, Mike.
Thank you very much for the question. And when it comes down to social equity, I think I would be remiss to remind the people or announce to the people that my financial agent is the former president of Surrey Pride, Martin Rooney, who is there to explain to me on a daily basis what's out there and to take a look at what's there for the rainbow community and what we need to do moving forward. I can tell you that we are looking at various housing options that is there to make sure that their needs and requirements are there. And we've got a project that's near and dear to my heart in Cloverdale that is subsidized housing for seniors. And Martin and I have had this conversation over the last number of months as to about the access to that kind of housing unit that's going to be there for the people. And when we take a look at currently, there's 50 units that are there. There's going to be another 39 that are added. There'll be 89 units that are inside of there. And that's going to cover a vast range of people to be able to get those things that are there. And when I think about the injustice that's there, and I think about Mr. Rustad and what he stands for and how he talks about certain communities in a disparaging way, I don't see that as the BC NDP party is doing right now. It's open, it's inclusive, it's for everyone, and we're proving it on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you very much. Eleanor, please.
Yeah, thank you. So, as a member of the LGBT community, I'm a lesbian, and I'm proud to be included in a party that's welcoming to all people. We're a big tent party. And I was invited to be a Conservative of British Columbia, not in spite of who I am, but because of who I am and what I can bring to the table. I'm very proud that as MLA and now even as a member of the Conservative Party, I participate in community groups. I was actually part of the Surrey Board of Trade's luncheon meeting with people from the community who are part of the LGBTQ2 SA+ business community to look at barriers. But as a person who has lived in the community, I've experienced discrimination. I've worked primarily in non-traditionally female roles. I've been a member of the military. I worked for the CBC, actually, as a technician. So I worked in the media, in technical roles, and of course, I was a police officer. And so I have a lot of experience working in situations where inclusion, there's been historic injustice. For example, my uncle, who was part of the RCMP, was purged in 1964. And then I moved from a time when my uncle was tossed out of the RCMP for being a gay man to a time when, as a lesbian, I represented as spokesperson the largest RCMP detachment in Canada. That's the kind of thinking, that's the kind of openness and inclusion I bring to the caucus of the Conservatives of British Columbia. We are an inclusive party. I'm proud to be a part of it, and I'll be proud to represent Surrey Cloverdale.
Thank you. Pat, over to you.
Yeah, this is a very, very important topic. We all want a society that is inclusive and tolerant and accepting of everybody. I mean, we are all equals, within our community, and we need to make all the marginalized groups welcome in the community, and that certainly extends to the LGBTQ community. And I have had some discussions with this community, and while we're making progress, there's still a ways to go. There's a group up here in North Surrey that's trying to get a community center built, and they're quite concerned about getting that thing built and making it secure and making them feel welcome. So we want to support them in that sort of thing. Now, the other thing that really disturbs me is the pressure that the Conservatives are putting on the SOJI program within our education program. This is a wonderful program that supports the student body in realizing the reality of the people that they share the classroom with. And this is not something that we need to threaten. It is a very, very important program within our school, and it needs to be supported, and the BC Greens are solidly behind it.
Thank you very much, Pat. Okay, now the representatives from Surrey Guildford, please to the stage. So we'll need a Conservative representative for the question. Thank you. So we're going to start with the Conservative rep, then Gary, and finally Manjeet. So the question is on accessibility, and accessibility is a critical issue for British Columbians as well. We know that a large portion of our population cannot participate in the workforce due to accessibility concerns. How will you ensure that the people with accessibility issues have equal access to education, employment, and community participation? So starting with Brent.
The first thing that has to be looked at is the transit system, the handy dart system, is improving that and making it far more accessible for disabled, but also for seniors. Many seniors have a real difficult time. I've met with some women before this, a large group of women in a backyard, and they told me that one of their biggest frustrations is the availability of the handy dart and also the proximity of where it reaches. It made it very, very difficult for them. And it's something that I think we can do easily. I think an audit really could be done to find out where, outside of the handy dart, where the inefficiencies are, put something together, a committee together, to look at where we can improve on this accessibility in public spaces, but also maybe in some private spaces. Though you see a lot of work is being done for it over the years, but it truly could be something that we can do better. And I believe it's something that should be actionable, that we can get on that. But I think really, probably the biggest one would be the transportation from the handy dart and its access to it, maybe more of them.
Thank you very much. Gary.
This province has led the nation in accessibility legislation. It's important to remember that we can't forget about these people. And these people always remind us of that we're forgettable. Nobody sees us. If you're in a wheelchair, nobody notices. If I'm going to take transit, nobody notices. So, in British Columbia, we've enacted legislation which allows for persons who have, for a variety of reasons, disabilities that may not be obvious, are accessible to all of the public locations. Now, I know that some of this is forgotten because it is forgotten. It is forgotten to be done, but we don't forget about it. With this legislation, public access to public buildings is a requirement, and I'm proud to say that that is something that we started and something that we will continue.
Thank you, Gary. And Manjeet. Manjeet, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I don't refer to them as these people. I refer to them as people, and they are people, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. I used to volunteer with the visually impaired a number of years ago, and they're bright. They were. I was shocked on how smart they were. I had to walk them to the grocery store. They had to get groceries, and they led the way. Like, I was far behind, and they just knew where to go and where to turn left and right. I was supposed to help them with their computer softwares, and they had screen readers on. Screen reader was a software that they speak to, and it uses a computer. And they were just doing it like normal people. So we don't have to, like, if vulnerable people don't have to be demeaned and put down. We have to put them at the same level as everybody else is, and not treat them as these people. They're regular people. We're just like me and you, and we're going to treat them the same way. And whatever they need, if the Green Party says we put people first, so if there is something that they need, we need to help them get that opportunity. So whether it's a bus or training or material, whatever it is, but we're going to treat them at the same level as everybody else. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can I have the Fleetwood candidates to the stage, please? So now we're going to begin with Tim, and then we're going to go to the Conservative candidate, and then the NDP candidate. Tim, so the question is, domestic manufacturing. One key to unlocking the potential of our domestic economy is through manufacturing and the jobs associated with it. How will you, as an MLA candidate, work to leverage innovation, infrastructure investments, and policy reforms to boost domestic manufacturing and create sustainable job growth in our region? Tim.
Yes, so keeping in mind that the big picture for the Green Party is imagining what the well-being of the population is. So it has to start with education. So in order to create these jobs, you need to have people educated to do that. You also need to provide transportation. Right now, people are traveling hour and a half, 2 hours to get somewhere. So we need to have a system that gets people, even people that might be in the lower pay scale, to their jobs and get them there on time without spending their whole day to get there. So the main thing is to create a situation where people want to work and are enabled to work, rather than providing lots of incentives to the businesses, because the businesses can do their work so long as they have employees that will get there. So they need healthy and trained and educated and people that can get to the jobs. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. So the question is on domestic manufacturing. So one key to unlocking the potential of our domestic economy is through manufacturing and the jobs associated with it. As MLA candidate or as the elected MLA, how would you work to leverage innovation, infrastructure investments, and policy reforms to boost domestic manufacturing and create sustainable job growth in our region and in BC?
Our businesses are suffering and moving to the different countries. What we need to do is we need to help the small businesses, provide them more support. So we need to create more jobs. So if the businesses are not there, there's no jobs. We need to build the economy, we need to build the infrastructure. We have seen in the last 7 years, there was no development, no infrastructure built, there was no local manufacturing, any improvement in the local manufacturing. So what we need to do is we need to bring the policy which will boost more local businesses instead of the international trade. So that's what we need to do.
Thank you very much. Jagru.
So when we talk about the manufacturing, we talk about the economy. And let me tell you, I know I heard a member from this side, that BC has the best economy in the country right now. We have the lowest unemployment rate, we have the highest GDP growth, we have the highest private sector job growth, and the minimum wage, my friend, was the lowest when we took over from these guys, and it is the highest in the country right now. And we have also the average salary highest in the country as well. So they were building an economy that works for only the top 2% people. We are building an economy that works for everyone. And that's the difference. And my friend talks about the infrastructure. They refused to build the SkyTrain. They did a referendum. We are building SkyTrain. They refused to build the hospital, and we are building a hospital. They refused to build the medical school, and we are building the medical school right now. They didn't build a zero school during the last 4 years, by the way. We have built equivalent to 20 elementary schools since we took over during the last 7 years. And they can never compare what we have invested in the city or in this province. And we are creating the economy that works for everyone, and that's what.
Thank you very much. Now, can I have the Newton candidates please come to the microphone? Perfect. And so this question is first going to go to Jesse, then Jaypreet, and finally the Conservative candidate. So this is on public safety, sponsored by our National Police Federation sponsor. Bail reform remains a significant issue in BC, with repeat offenders making headlines almost daily in the Lower Mainland. Progressive and data-driven bail reforms will allow police officers, both RCMP and municipal, more time for proactive policing and ultimately make our communities safer. What specific steps will you take to reform the current bail system to ensure that repeat violent offenders are not released back into the community, jeopardizing public safety? So Jesse, over to you first.
Thank you for your question. This is a really important question, especially here in Surrey. We know we have a lot of public safety concerns, and if we can't feel safe in our homes, at our workplaces, and in our communities, then we're not safe anywhere, and that's just not okay. So safety is a very big concern to the BC NDP and to David Eby. And on this point, when it comes to bail reforms, this is a point that David Eby takes very seriously as well, and has pushed the federal government, who's in charge of this, to ensure that people that are repeat offenders or dangerous offenders are not being put out back onto the streets. And we're continuing to push on the federal government, and we will continue to do so, along with the premiers from all across the country, to ensure that the changes are made to the criminal code that we need to ensure that all British Columbians, all Canadians and everyone here in Surrey are safe and we're not dealing with those same issues. It's also important in general to invest in the public safety of this community, of the entire province, by hiring over 250 police officers and by bringing in services where we're bringing more police services here so we can deploy more services across British Columbia. We are filling vacancies and gaps in policing that have existed for years and that are not acceptable. It's not acceptable to have lack of public safety resources anywhere, but especially for us here in Surrey. So by focusing on this, we're ensuring that there's resources all across the province so that we can address public safety so that everyone is safe in their communities.
Thank you. Jeffrey, over to you.
So unfortunately, every day I hear from constituents in Surrey Newton who say that they're afraid of letting their kids go outside and play because of the gang violence, because of repeat violent offenders just going to jail and then coming out a few days later because of BC NDP's failed catch and release policy. There is federal jurisdiction and provincial jurisdiction for criminal law. So if I was the MLA, and I will be the MLA in Surrey Newton, I will push the prosecutor, the Attorney General, to end this catch and release policy that has failed. We also need to address the long-term root causes of crime through restorative justice, rehabilitation, and community safety officers that can focus on de-escalation, mental health. And we've seen this model work in other jurisdictions, like, for instance, in Glasgow, Scotland. They decided to treat crime as a public health issue. By doing that, and by having a community policing model, they decreased violent crime by around 40%. We are going to look at jurisdictions around the world and implement systems that work, that address the root causes for non-violent offenders by investing in youth, by investing in rehabilitative and restorative justice, and hiring community police officers. And the BC Conservatives, they just have outdated rhetoric on a tough on crime policy, but it doesn't actually work. And BC NDP has failed to address repeat violent offenders. We'll address that.
Thank you very much. Eleanor.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to go quick and I'm going to refer to my paper because I don't want to run out of time. Minute 30, not enough. September 19th, a man came to William Davidson Elementary School in Surrey at pickup time. He's brandishing a sword. He uttered threats and he ended up attacking a random person. And it turns out the man had a history of mental illness and was out on probation with conditions not to possess weapons at the time that he took the sword to the elementary school. He has been convicted at the time of another attack with a weapon which occurred in April. This is David Eby's catch and release justice system. This man who has a history of mental illness. So in 2022, David Eby, he commissioned a report, it's the Lepard-Butler report on repeat violent offenders. One of the recommendations in that report was to build what's called low secure beds. This type of bed would be the exact kind of bed appropriate for this person with a history of mental illness, doesn't fit the forensic system, and needs to be kept in custody and treated for their mental illness to protect the public. David Eby had that recommendation since 2022 and he failed. He failed to build even one low secure bed. John Rustad's Conservative government, we're going to build those beds. We're going to truly address the root cause of crime. Because not every crime is just some evil person. Crime can be as a result of illnesses that David Eby and his government have failed to treat and failed to respect for the last 7 years that they have been in power. The 250 police positions they talk about are vacancies they did not fill, and they're simply
So housing affordability remains a critical issue in Surrey. What specific measures will you implement to ensure affordable housing is not just promised but delivered in a timely manner? And how will you ensure that infrastructure related to the housing, such as hospitals, schools, transit, are able to adequately support the growth? So we'll begin with the Conservative representative and then over to Ginny.
I think the first thing we got to do for affordable housing is we have to make it affordable. And ways that we can do that is through what my colleagues have said before, is the elimination of the carbon tax, right? We heard the phrases that it can be between $20,000 and $30,000 per unit just based on the carbon tax. At the end of the day, when we look at the costs that's coming on the new builds, a lot of it is bureaucratic costs. And we've said it before and we'll say it again, is we have to get out of the way. Government believes, the NDP government believes, again, overpromise and underdeliver in terms of how many units they built. We actually have, I want to acknowledge the Unity crowd that we have here today. Because these guys they do deserve an applause, because that is exactly, absolutely the type of housing that we do need to be. And I'm so proud that that's in my riding of Surrey White Rock. So hats off to you guys and all the work that you've done. But again, we talk about housing, and their solution to that is authoritarian Bill 44. Right? And just to be clear, I was not referring to Bill 47. I'm talking about Bill 44, which actually means that you can have 4 to 6 residential units on one residential lot. That's not supported in White Rock. That's not supported in Surrey. But again, and there is no public hearing for that, right? That is authoritarian to the extreme. You cannot do housing by putting your foot on the throats of taxpayers and municipalities like Bill 44.
Thank you very much. Ginny.
Thank you very much, and this is an excellent question, because this is the #1 issue for many families in British Columbia, especially right here in Surrey. I'm proud of the direction David Eby has taken on this. The plan, and it's a comprehensive plan, has got praise from right around the world. People in the US are saying this is innovative, this is thinking outside of the box, and this will bring housing. There was a gridlock in the cities, not approving permits, permits going on for ages, and all kinds of bureaucratic barriers. Well, when the cities couldn't deliver, the province has stepped in. The cities have an opportunity, and you know something? The cities have signed on to the plans. And I'm so happy to see that the city of Surrey signed on. And of course, as we build homes, we've got to make sure they're affordable. Shout out to Unity, and I'm so glad we helped to fund that project and move it along. So children and your children to get into this housing market.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll have Surrey South please take the stage. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So this question is on post-secondary seats. So our post-secondary spaces and our seats associated have not significantly grown for Surrey's institutions in the past 20 years, while our population continues to grow significantly. If you're elected and your party forms government, what can our post-secondary institutions expect in terms of adding seats and a review of the funding formula? So we'll begin with Haroon and then over to Brent.
Thanks. Yeah, this is very much needed. We need the post-secondary additional seats here in BC and especially in Surrey. And for that, the BC NDP have already started this work, and I will committed to carry this work towards the goal we have it. For like SFU, we have the BC NDP have started the medical school, which is the first investment in last, I believe, 50 years, if I'm not wrong. So and additional seats, medical seats in the UBC. On top of that, the students who are living at the campuses or students need to live, they want to live at the campus, but the housing issues are here, the housing is not available. So the promise BC NDP made before the 2017 election to build the student housing at the campuses, BC NDP fulfilled that promise, and I believe about or over 10,000 spaces have been built on the campuses for the students. So this work is ongoing. The BC NDP is already taking action in this area, and I'm committed to work along with that and continue this work.
Thank you very much. Brent, over to you.
Yeah, we have to improve we have improved spending for nurses and for medical. So that's one of the things that the BC Conservative government is committed to, is increasing spending and increasing the spaces for medical, for nurses in our schools. But also, we talk about the safety on universities and what has to be done there. Basically, our universities need to be looked after. They need to have better funding and better care given to them, and also developing programs that work at home as opposed to depending on foreign students to make this work. So making programs that high school students can look towards getting involved with. So often our students here are left behind going to university, whereas foreign students seems to have a better access to our the universities that we pay for right here. So I think we can do a better job in getting our students through high school and into the universities.
Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on to Surrey North. Candidates, please to the stage, or to the microphones. Thank you. And a Conservative representative. Thank you, Eleanor. So this question is about K-12 education in Surrey. So how does your party intend to enhance K-12 education in Surrey to meet the needs of its growing student population, to address things like space, to address things like curriculum, and what policy changes would you propose? So we're going to begin with the Green Party, Sim, and then we'll move on to the Conservatives, and then to the NDP.
So there are 311 portables when NDP come to the power, and now it's 361. And soon it will be over 400. But Surrey School District have 80,000 students, but Toronto School District have 250,000 students, which is double. And the portable number will be same. So first we have to bring actual students to the actual classroom so they can feel how the classroom feels like. Then we have to focus on the future. What is the future? Future is AI. So what we have to do, we have to find a program so we can pre-train students so they can focus on education for the future. In China, people are studying with AI. But over here, the discussion we're having it is, oh, we have a portable, so we have a proper infrastructure. At the same time, drug like Lupron, drug like cross-gender hormones like estrogen, testosterone is being given to the kids. And it's a scientific fact, brain is not developed till 25. So let them make their own decision. Kids send their school, parents send their kids to school to learn math, science, and English, not to put them on gender, hormone, studies, or anything like that. Okay, it's not lying, it's a fact. You tell me any study.
If we could please focus on the question.
So at the same time, so why is school system putting the student on the cross-gender hormones like testosterone and estrogen?
Sir,
when there is a new Dutch study shows that thing, majority of the students will come out.
Thank you very much. So we're now, please.
Am I next?
Yes, please.
Okay, so
Eleanor,
that's
thank you very much.
I was the former education critic for BC, and I'll just say that kids are not accessing hormones through the school. Just to dispel that. That's false. Kids are not getting gender hormones through the school. There's only one place in British Columbia that specializes in gender hormone replacement. That's at the Children's Hospital in British Columbia. You know what? The Surrey School District is $5 billion behind in infrastructure. And, I'm sure that my colleague, hello, again, good to see you, will come up and say it's because 16 years of the previous government, blah, blah, blah. You heard it all night. The reality is this is a government that has been in power for 7 years. And it's actually false that the previous government didn't build schools. In fact, many of the schools that opened, come on, they came open. They were already started by the previous government. And look, the reality is that because of underfunding in the Surrey School District, they've had to cut things like school bus service for kids with disabilities. They went from right? It's true. I have many people who have come to my office because they have kids with disabilities. They cannot get school bus service. That's a fact. Also a fact, it takes 6 years to get a school built under the NDP. John Rustad's government will be building more schools. We're going to fix the flawed funding formula, and they're going to make sure that we get school projects approved faster by also approving shovel-ready projects and prioritizing them. We're going to invest in schools, and we're going to look forward to...
Thank you very much. Rachna, over to you, please.
Thank you so much. I'm a mother whose kids have gone through the public education system, and I'm fully invested in the public education as many families, many parents are. And for me, that is a priority, and that's what BCNDP has done. Since we formed the government, we inherited the deficit that was left behind by the previous government. And we invested in, right now, till now, have funded 15,000 student spaces right here in Surrey. That is 34 new and expanded schools. Out of those 15,000 seats, 8,200 seats are already in operation, and many more are coming. We are looking at the innovative. We know how many more people are moving to British Columbia. How? Like way I came to British Columbia, made Surrey home more than 20 years ago. That's what people are doing, and that's why we want all the kids coming here getting that quality education, which I'm so proud of. BC's education system is one of the best in the world, and I can vouch for it because my kids are in the education system. And then we are looking at the innovative ways. We are working so closely with our partners, Surrey School District, looking at the innovative ways. How can we get those classrooms ready quickly? We are looking at the prefabricated classroom additions. We are looking at the urban school concepts. Unlike the Conservative Party leader who wants to increase the class size by 20%, and that will impact the level of education and the quality education that our kids deserve.
Thank you very much. Next, we will have the representatives from Surrey White Rock to the stage. Oh, sorry, Serpentine. My mistake, Bultid. You were right. Yes, Serpentine to the stage, then White Rock.
It's like, is there another writing?
So for this question for you is about balancing the budget. What measures will your party take to ensure that public sector operations are efficient, cost-effective, and deliver high-quality services to citizens? So we'll start with Linda and then Bultid.
Thank you. If I look at what has been said by the Financial Post, the Globe and Mail, Business in Vancouver, we should all be very afraid for our children and our grandchildren. They have announced that we are in the most unsustainable financial position of any province in the country. In order to bring that into balance, when the NDP were asked, how is it that you intend on balancing this enormous deficit, $9 billion, probably more, the answer was, that's up to the next government. Well, I can tell you that this government, under the Conservatives, would look at how can we do that, and I can tell you that it is probably not going to be within the first few years, because we would have to examine where is it that we have gone so terribly wrong, that we have spent billions and billions of dollars when they inherited a $5 billion in the positive and have driven it into a $9 billion deficit. That is just not, that is, if your kids did that.
Thank you very much, Linda. Bultid.
Thank you, folks. I chose the BC NDP because of their values, because of principles, because of the things that they've done in the past 6 years, 7 years. And we tend to forget that we went through a pandemic here, folks, and people were in need. There's a lot of folks here that were struggling. There are a lot of folks here that lost jobs, a lot of businesses that were struggling. A lot of businesses didn't know which way they were going to go, whether tomorrow, the day, the door was going to open. That's when the BC NDP stepped in, and they helped whoever it was that needed that help to survive that extra day, to move on to the new world where we were free from the pandemic, not start to talk about how vaccines are being used to control people, right? So this is what the BC NDP has done. It stepped up when it needed to. It didn't hold back. It didn't put cuts in. That's what they're talking about, is putting in cuts. This is not the time to slow down in helping out people. It is still a hard time out there. We keep saying time is difficult. We keep saying that things are hard. We keep saying that groceries are expensive, but then on the same breath, we want to cut. How does that work? So BC has the lowest GDP right now. So they've continued to put money into infrastructure, put money into the people of British Columbia, put money into businesses, put money where it's required.
Thank you very much. Now we will have the representatives from Surrey White Rock to the stage for the question. Thank you very much. And a green, oh, sorry, I was corrected. So thank you very much for your participation. This question is on natural disasters that we have experienced a lot of in the last couple of months with wildfires, with floods in 2021. How have you seen, we have seen now that floods and fires have devastated communities and impacted supply chains. What is your party's priorities on emergency planning and disaster responses? So we're going to start with the NDP and then we'll go Conservative.
Thank you very much. I think none of us, except John Rustad, can deny that climate change science is for real. We have lived the impact of atmospheric floods in our valleys, where we've seen our highways and bridges taken down. And we have seen fires in an unprecedented way right across this province. And you know, one of the things is we stepped forward. When we were government, we formed a special ministry that is totally focused on looking at climate change and looking at the impact and emergency preparedness. We've done a lot of preventative work over the last number of years in order to make sure that when those incidences occur, that we minimize the damage. But we also have to be there for people. We have to be there to rebuild. We were there for the farmers when they lost their crops. We were there for communities when they didn't have insurance on their houses. And we were there to help them to rebuild right across this country. I visited the north, the Grand Forks area, straight after the floods and saw the kind of damage that was there. And you know something? Every person I talked to was hugging me and saying, thank you for being there for us. That's the kind of empathic government we need to elect to make sure we have a government that isn't talking about.
Thank you very much. Trevor.
Thank you. I think, with all due respect, Ginny, I think you should go to Lytton, because you're not going to get that reception there. That is a classic example of how NDP government has completely deserted a community in their absolute time of need. Over 600 British Columbians died in the heat dome. Over 600 British Columbians died in the heat dome. And what did we get from this government? Excuse after excuse. They absolutely failed. A lot of those people that died were seniors in my riding. This government absolutely failed to put warnings in place that would have actually saved lives. And what do they do after? They scrambled to say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to give out free air conditioners. Who here has a government air conditioner that they were promised from this NDP government? Not one person. Okay? That is a classic example of a failure of a government that talks but does nothing when their citizens need them the most. And for this NDP member to get up here and praise and pat themselves on the back when we've lost over 600 people, and the city of Lytton has seen nothing from this government, is absolutely embarrassing.
Okay, so thank you very much, candidates. We do have some time left over for concluding remarks. So you'll have 30 seconds to impart final thoughts on voters that are watching the live stream and in the room today. So what we're going to do is allow everyone to speak for just 30 seconds. So Kapil, he will flash the sign at 10 seconds, and then you'll have 10 seconds to wrap up. So we're going to start with City Centre candidate. So Amna, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Jasroop. I hope you all enjoyed this evening. I know I certainly did, hearing from my colleagues and some lies from the other side. But, you know, we're here. You can boo me all you want, but it doesn't change the facts. So, you know, we have a leader in this province, David Eby, who has stood up for British Columbians through a pandemic, through...
Quiet, please. We'll add some more time back, Amna. We'll restart at 15 seconds, I think it was.
So we've had a leader here in this province who has stood up for British Columbians, whether it be through reducing ICBC rates, whether it be to help families during a very difficult period of time through rebates, through tax initiatives, through incentives. And we...
Thank you. 30 seconds goes fast. So we'll move over to Cloverdale. We'll start with Pat, then Mike, then Eleanor.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, thanks for coming out tonight. This has been a great evening. I just want to share with you that the BC Green Party has an inclusive vision, that its roots are in wellness. And, you know, we want to support everybody. We want to support our communities. We want to support the environment. It's an all-inclusive system. And, yeah, support us.
Thank you very much. Okay, over to you, Mike.
Okay, ready, sure. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. I think when I take a look at what's coming to Cloverdale, I take a look at a hospital, I take a look at SkyTrain, I take a look at a cancer center that's coming there, and I think about what I've heard tonight and where the deficit and where the budget is. And this is not the time. This is not the time to press pause on any of those things that are there. I don't think there's anybody that's in this room that says no to a hospital, no to a cancer center, no to SkyTrain, because we have to watch what we're spending our money on right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. Eleanor.
Thanks. And just to be clear, Conservatives are not saying no to those things. We're saying yes, and we'll carry on, and we'll also increase spending in healthcare. I think that by every metric, the NDP has failed over the last 7 years. It's no surprise that my colleagues here would like to bring up the past, because they don't have solutions for the things that are happening in BC today. They're very eager to distract from the things that matter most to British Columbians. But the reality is by every metric, this NDP government has failed. I look forward to being a strong voice in Surrey Cloverdale.
Thank you very much. Over to Guildford. We'll begin with Gary Begg and then Manjit Sahota.
Thank you, Jasroop, and thank you to the Surrey Board of Trade for making this event possible. I think it's fairly clear that there is a stark difference here tonight between the two parties. Party one, which is us, want to move forward. Number two doesn't want to move at all. You, the voter, has the choice. Tonight, I hope you've made that decision, and your vote will be for us, the BC NDP, and David Eby. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Manjit, over to you.
Okay, thank you. I unfortunately had the seat to sit in the middle of these two parties yelling and screaming at each other. I think, you know, these parties flip-flop decisions, make up all this kind of stuff just to get votes. I think we're beyond that point now. We need to make, we the Green Party, are putting people first, or putting you first. So I consider that you please make a change and vote for the Green Party, vote for Manjit Sahota in the Guildford riding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Fleetwood riding, please take the stage. So we'll have, starting with Jagrup Brar, Avtar Gill, then Tim Benema.
David Eby is on your side. John Rustard is not on your side. He's on the side of the top 2%. And the contrast is very clear. John Rustard refused to build the second hospital in Surrey. David Eby is building the second hospital in Surrey. John Rustard refused to build a SkyTrain in Surrey. David Eby is building SkyTrain in Surrey. John Rustard put unfair tolls on the people of Surrey. David Eby removed the tolls on the people of Surrey. The
Thank you very much. So please, over to you, Avtar.
Thank you everyone for attending. Why the hospital was not built for 7 years? Why it took 7 years? We only hear promises, nothing has been delivered. So we need to make British Columbia back to its original shape under the Conservative government. Common sense plan for the people will work and you will be happy.
Thank you very much, Avtar. Tim.
Well, I'm so proud to be running for the Green Party, a party rooted in evidence-based policies while the other parties flip-flop without a rudder. We stand by the proven tax policy favored by practically every economist as the most efficient way to reduce our carbon emissions. Just imagine the payback investing in reducing our fossil fuel dependence and what that will do to our competitiveness in the world. Vote Green for a resilient economy ready for the future.
Thank you very much, Tim. Okay, over to Newton. So we'll begin with Jaypreet and then Jesse.
Thank you to the Surrey Board of Trade and the audience for joining us today and listening to us. Once again, my name is Japreet Lehal. I'm the Team Liberal candidate, MLA candidate for Surrey Newton. I was born and raised there. I'm a lawyer by profession. I have the knowledge and the personal connection to address the main issues facing our constituents, which is rising costs, the healthcare crisis, and public safety and crime issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jesse.
Thank you, Jasroop, and thank you to Surrey Board of Trade and for all of you watching online and in person. In my life, I've learned a lot about government, and one of the main things I've learned is that government can be used for good and government can be used for bad. I'm proud to stand with David Eby and the BC NDP to use government for good so we can invest in healthcare, strengthen our education system, and increase affordability for all. And I'm so proud to stand with BC NDP, and I implore you to, I hope today help you make a decision, and I hope you stand with us so we can keep making a difference.
Thank you very much. Panorama. Ginny.
Thank you very much. This election is about choices. There's a choice over here, science deniers, climate change deniers, build up schools, do not build infrastructure, and just put out misinformation and slogans. Or you have a choice, building schools, building hospitals, growing the healthcare workforce, and investing in our communities and infrastructure. That is our choice.
Thank you very much. And now over to the Surrey South candidates. So we'll begin with Brent and then Haroon.
If you take the Paris Climate Accord and accept it as what it is, you're the science denier. Because for the next 46 years, China and the Global South get to emit as much CO2 as they want. And in 2070, they decide what they're going to do about it. Us beggaring ourselves for 1.4% of the world's CO2 makes no difference. Their CO2 is causing our problem, and we need to do something about that. Until we do, we're doing nothing. You had your chance.
Thank you very much, Brent. Haroon.
I believe in listening to the voices of the people. I believe in consultation. I believe in getting involved with the stakeholders. I believe in getting their feedback before making any policy for them. And that's what I'm committed to do if I'm being elected as an MLA. And I will go with the community, with their feedback, and with their support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, over to, thank you very much, Rachna. And Sim, please. So we'll start with you, Rachna.
So British Columbia, right in the front of your eyes, you're losing your high-paying production jobs to the Amazon low-quality jobs. At the same time, the words like protection money, extortion was unthinkable like 10 years ago, but it's all over now. All the small businesses are under stress. If you ask for the doctors, you're going to get more supply. And in the end, all I want to ask about this side is, who is the father of the gender studies and how much is the carbon in the environment?
Thank you very much. Rachna.
Thank you so much. I think the choice for this election is clear. The governments matter. The governments that invest in services that people rely on. Governments who have people's back during the tough times. And that's what the David Eby and his leadership is. Unless the John Rustad, who is going to cut the services that you rely on, making life more unaffordable the way it is, but also he's climate denier, he's making politics more polarized. So,
thank you very much. So we're over to Serpentine River, and we'll begin with Voltage and then Linda.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, Trevor, NPF, for hosting us here tonight. That's really great. Thank you. 34 years of policing, most of that fighting organized crime and gangs. And I'm continuing to work in that field, and I'm proud of the BC NDP for all of the different initiatives that they've brought forward in fighting organized crime and fighting the true culprit that's bringing toxic opioids into our province, and not ignoring gun laws.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for being here tonight and listening to all of us who have different opinions, but we respect that everyone wants the best for this city and this province. I would say to you right now that this is fundamentally the most important election that you will be voting on. We will either move this province forward in a way that does not have.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And now, finally, Surrey White Rock. Trevor.
Thank you. We've seen for the last 7 years an NDP government that has consistently, without doubt, overpromised and underdelivered. And we are failing in all aspects, whether it's housing, whether it's affordability, whether it's crime, whether it's healthcare. And we can't afford to fail for another 4 years. We absolutely cannot afford. Now, what you've seen tonight from the NDP is desperation. And the fact is they've run out of ideas. And that's sad, but the appetite for change is there, and we'll get that done.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. So that brings us to the conclusion of our program. First of all, I just want to thank all of the candidates that were here. It was a grueling 2 hours. You're sitting there. You were passionate. It was amazing. I want to congratulate and applaud all of you. You guys did great. It really does take a lot of courage to stand up here in front of all these people, know that you're live streamed, know that it's on video. But I want to also thank our sponsors for this event. So our presenting sponsor, the National Police Federation. Thank you for your sponsorship. Our progress partners, the Chamber of Commerce Group Insurance Plan by SNF Group, the law firm of Fasken, yes, thank you. Focus College, Lighthouse Labs, and Western Community College. Thank you. And finally, I want to say, don't forget to vote on October 19th. Advanced voting does take place on October 10th to 13th, as well as the 15th and 16th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can find the advanced voting locations on elections.bc.ca and visit elections.ca to find out more about how to vote. And this concludes the Surrey Board of Trade Candidate Dialogue. And on October 10th, we are hosting a Leaders Dialogue in advance of the election right here at the Sheraton. Register online for this and many other Surrey Board of Trade events at businessinsurrey.com. Make it a great rest of your business week. And remember, Surrey is an opportunity city. Thank you very much.